welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Football Podcast. And look at us now. On video.
Yep.
We're on video. Hopefully everything goes well. Otherwise, you'll just be hearing us chat about videos. Nothing's online. But this is going to be our first, hopefully this is going to be our first YouTube video that we post. But now you get another perspective of us and you get to see our gorgeous faces for the first time. Yeah. So what do we have planned for today?
We have a few things planned for today. Our main segment will be going over Pep Guardiola's time at Manchester City and whether he's failed or succeeded. We will go through our predictions that we made last week. And there are no matches this week because of the international break. I don't know if we might discuss some of the international matches, but probably not because there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
That is basically it. We'll go through the rundown after this. But first, Tom, how was your week?
What did I do this week? I don't really do much anymore because I finished uni. But you have finished uni for the year.
Yes,
that's exciting.
I have.
You've only got one. Wait, is it 1 year left on this course? On
Hopefully.
this course, yeah, 1 year left.
Yes.
My week though. Let's talk about me for a second. Yeah, not a great deal. Just this is pretty much my life now. Just watch football, take notes, upload it to you guys.
Special mention that there was an election this week. In America, if you missed it, by the time this goes out, it would have been a week from the actual election in the United States took place, and of course, the incumbent President Donald Trump was defeated to many people's happiness, I suppose, around the world,
and many people's surprise.
But then again, also you got to remember at least 70 million people voted for him. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting situation, but no, things look good for the future. And football's looking good, so, can't complain.
Exactly. So, with that being said, we're going to move on to the rundown.
This week on The Rundown, Diego Maradona underwent emergency surgery after it was revealed he had internal brain bleed.
Massive news.
Yeah.
This could have been, one of the most tragic news of the year. Obviously, it's not the surgery went well. We should add, just before we get into all the details about it, but the surgery went well, and I believe he's out of hospital now. He was out of hospital probably a day or two after the surgery, and it was like a wild 24 hours for him. But yeah, glad it wasn't a bad situation for him. It probably would have been like a traumatizing situation at the time. But actually, I read a few articles on this, and a lot of other stuff happened that, didn't hit the mainstream media, to say. He actually was suffering from anemia, dehydration, and depression when he was admitted to the first clinic. And then he did the scans there, and that showed the bleeding on the brain, which is actually caused by something called a subdermal hematoma. All you doctors out there, shout out. But
if anyone out there can explain what that means to Tom, I'm sure he'll be happy.
I've sort of done a little bit of research. It's like when there's blood in your brain.
Oh, so, okay. So a brain bleed then?
Pretty much. There's blood between a membrane and his brain is what
Not good.
It's been come up as. So yeah, he went to the hospital in La Plata, I think that's how you say it. And yeah, he was admitted there, and he was reportedly suffering from anemia, dehydration, and showed signs of depression, and they had to obviously do a COVID check on him as well. If you don't know, Maradona has a pretty well-known history of, drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So he does have poor health, so it does make him, somewhat vulnerable to this COVID disease.
Yep.
But fortunately, there was no links to that. Then he was transported to Buenos Aires, where he underwent the surgery, and it was all well. So I think that's
it.
Pretty much it for that. Hopefully nothing else comes up from that. But
no, it's good to see that it went all right and that he's doing well now.
Yep.
On Thursday, reports suggest that Maurizio Pochettino and Julian Nagelsmann have been contacted by Manchester United after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's poor performance this season. The Pochettino suggested that the Pochettino story that he had been contacted by Manchester United came out a month ago, month and a bit ago. It wasn't really, more of a speculation. It wasn't really confirmed, but this seems to be more of a confirmation that they're actually in talks to replace Solskjaer.
Yeah, and I think as well as that, it's not just Pochettino now. It's also Nagelsmann, who's, I honestly regard him as one of the best managers in the world. The way he's been able to progress this Leipzig team in the Champions League last season as well as this season, as we'll talk about later on. But yeah, his philosophy is also great, and I think either of them would be a positive to Manchester United if either of them were to go there.
Yeah, and it's looking more and more likely that Solskjaer would get the sack sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Obviously, this week they managed to lose in the Champions League.
Yeah, very, very poor performance.
But win in the Premier League.
The way that it happens, though, he digs himself a hole, puts himself in it, puts the gun up against his head, and then just takes it off at the last second.
Yeah, he's managed to survive that many times over the course of his tenure at Manchester United.
But yeah, we'll talk about him a little bit later during the results as well.
Yep.
Just because it's relevant.
On Friday, there was a record 93 goals scored during match day 3 of the Europa League. This is big for this many goals to be scored in one match day.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously Europa League have double the amount of games, and they're all played on one day after the Champions League fixtures have resulted. 10 clubs scored 4 more goals during these results. You had Leverkusen scoring 4, PAOK scoring 4, Roma with 5, Rapid 1 with 4, Arsenal 4, Leicester 4, Hoffenheim 5, Sparta Prague 4, AEK Athens 4, and Villarreal 4. Very a very big goal fest there. And another thing to mention for Tottenham wise, Harry Kane scored his 200th goal for the club in just 300 games. That's in all competitions.
That's big news for
very
Harry
big.
Kane.
And very fast fashion to do so. Pretty much a goal every. I can't do the maths.
How many games has he played?
Huh?
How many games has he played?
Well, that was his 300th game.
So about 1.5 goals a game.
1.5 goals a game.
Roughly.
I hope that's right.
Well, if he scored his 200, it would be.
But he's hit another milestone in the Premier League that we'll talk about as well later in the Premier League result. But yeah, what else happened on Friday?
Yeah, a lot of things happened on Friday. New regulations were announced regarding transfers, meaning that money that agents make from deals will now be public. Yeah. So, Tom, would you like to explain what happened previously?
Yeah, so generally when transfers happen, you only see how much the club's making off the transfer and then how much the player... sometimes you see how much the player makes. Usually it's undisclosed in lower leagues, but, Premier League and all the other top European competitions usually say how much a player's on, and I'm pretty sure you can do your research. You'll find out pretty easily how much a player is on. But during player contract negotiations, there's also a agent's fee that the agent gets for, doing his job pretty much. And now that is going to be public, which I think it's right because, they're going to make quite a bit of money, and they usually are, quite proficient with their money making, and they have a lot of clients as well. So some have a lot of clients. I think that's right to have everything public, especially when you're in the spectacle of the public. And I think it should be for all sports as well, especially with ones with salary caps. Like obviously this doesn't have much, but A-League, for example, with salary caps, I think all that should be public. And AFL even, because there's always salary cap scandals and stuff. But I'm a big fan of it, to be honest.
Yes. I think it will probably prevent managers trying to extort more money out of clubs or going to where they think it will be more profitable for them rather than their player or
for the club's progression.
Yeah. Also on Friday, Derby County owner Mel Morris agreed in principle to sell the club to the cousin of Manchester City owner Sheikh Khalid.
I'll take that.
I presume he's a sheikh. Sheikh Mansour is the owner of Manchester City.
Yep.
So Sheikh Khalid is
cousin.
His cousin, apparently.
Yeah.
This I think raises a few questions, which I don't have the facts about. I don't think you probably do. Obviously, they're two different people. That's completely fine. They are related, and there's nothing wrong to say that it's not his money. However, the Manchester City owner, Sheikh Mansour, is a sheikh, so he's a royal prince of
through the family,
the UAE, I believe the UAE, and so obviously his cousin would be too. So is their money coming from the country
or the family?
No, but because the family in the country, their money would probably be connected. Which I'm not saying, I don't want to get political or anything, but if the money's coming from the same place, is it really owned by two different people? Is it owned by one person? Because if the money's coming from a different place, just because it's in someone else's name, doesn't mean that the profits or the backing, they won't both have the backing of the state, and it could potentially become another state-owned club.
Yeah.
It may be, his inheritance. That's fine. I'm just a bit concerned that it's heading down that way, and then he has another cousin who he has a bit of money too, and
just start taking over.
There's a lot of people with a lot of money. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if there's any connection to a state, then it gets into a bit of troubled, turbulent waters. I think in terms of how right it is to allow one country, because it's generally he's a political leader, he's a member of the royal family of a country, so he's a leader there, to invest, because it is an investment, and that's probably how they see it, to invest in multiple clubs, but they're really owned by one person. It's kind of unfair in a way. It's good for Derby, I think, but it's just a bit. I don't know. It just seems a bit weird, odd.
Yeah, I remember when I told you about it straight away. First thing you asked me was, "Is this legal?" And I looked into it, and I couldn't really see anything suggesting it wasn't. But stuff like that, you're not going to know until it comes out.
I don't know. Like with Manchester City, I think is a bit different than, say, the Newcastle Saudi takeover was similar to Manchester City, as it would have been under a group that was led by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and therefore it was pretty much Saudi Arabian government money, or the royal family, which is pretty much the government, their money. So and same with PSG. They're owned by the Qatari royal family, I think, or a member of the Qatari royal family. Yeah. So they're kind of, and you see that they have Qatar on their kits, some of their kits, they used to at least.
Yeah, they used to.
Or Fly Emirates.
Yeah, they used to have Fly Emirates.
Oh, maybe they're not Qatari. Maybe they're Emirati. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I probably should have looked into this a bit further, but I don't know. I just worried about, how much of a... Yeah, it's probably not illegal. It's within the code, because they still have to be past the fit and proper persons test. But I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever failed that. There probably is, but I kind of remember because there was a few people that since that test has been introduced have actually what's the word, put a club into receivership.
Oh, put them in jeopardy.
Yeah. In high debt and
but in regards to whether it's illegal or the conspiracy behind it, you can't really, you can speculate as far as you want, but
Yeah.
No one's going to know until
it just seems a bit odd. But, I mean, it's a good thing for Derby to have this money coming in.
Especially right now, because they need it. They're currently sitting 23rd, or at the time they were sitting 23rd. Or they probably still are, in the championship, so second tier, which is a relegation spot. That would put them in League One if they were to be relegated.
Yeah, and they'd probably be less likely to buy them if they were relegated.
Who knows? But yeah, the only thing that highlights everything that you've just said, or like over highlight, I don't know if that's a thing, but the EFL approved the deal. So I think that's like the whole. Yeah. But yeah, it's been approved by the EFL. The owner, what's his name, Mel Morris. He pretty much
the current owner,
he agreed to, in principle, to the deal. So, as far as we know right now, it will go through sometime soon, or probably not soon. Maybe at the end of the season, maybe during the year. Who knows? What else do we have on the rundown?
The last bit of news speculation. I don't know what you call this. On Saturday, Mesut Ozil has revealed that he wishes to remain in London if he was to be transferred. So, obviously, he'd want to remain in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I can't see him going to the Championship. So that leaves, because he's at Arsenal, so that leaves Tottenham. He's not going to go to Tottenham because, one, they wouldn't take him, and really it's Tottenham and he's played for Arsenal. It has happened, but it's not for him. He's
Chelsea,
not going to happen.
Wouldn't work.
West Ham, possible.
I like that.
Especially if they were to sell Rice to Chelsea, they have a bit of money to pay him. He won't be getting paid the £350,000 a week or whatever it is.
Beyond less, but he would be playing every week.
Yeah,
that's the main.
That's why probably. Crystal Palace is another shout. I don't know if they could afford his reduced wages if they kept Zaha on as well.
I mean, if they were able to keep Zaha and add Ozil to that, Jesus. And they've got Eze as well, youngster coming up. He scored a really good goal on the weekend at that free kick. If they imagine that, like that front three, well, it wouldn't be a front three, but Eze through the midfield with Ozil and Zaha.
Well, I don't know if Ozil's any good anymore because I haven't seen him play for a very long time.
I haven't seen him play in, honestly, probably like a year and a half.
I haven't seen him play probably at least 2 years.
Could be longer.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the fact that like Arteta left him out of the squad and said, we gave it all that we could. Or like, maybe he wasn't good enough. Maybe he actually wasn't good enough. Because there's no way that they would actually leave him out if he wasn't any good. Because he would be a replacement even if they needed him. Like, it makes no sense to leave him out completely unless he was actually not
he wasn't saying very nice things about Arsenal, though.
Bale didn't say nice things about Real Madrid, and he was put in the squad.
He never played, did he?
Bench warmer, but still in the squad. I don't know how their regulations work or anything.
I don't know. I just don't think he could have dropped off that much.
Yeah. Who else? Fulham.
Fulham, but they'll probably go
relegated.
Down. Watford if they get put back up.
Brentford if they get put back up.
If they get up.
There's a few, but I think if it was out to those teams, especially those ones that are stable, like in the Premier League, and are quite stable. West Ham or Crystal Palace.
West Ham or Palace.
Yeah. Can only speculate at this point.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It remains to be seen what he does.
Maybe January. He could leave in January.
He could. Anyway, that was the rundown for this week.
So for the results during the week, we had 12 Premier League games, I believe, as well as the Champions League that we'll talk about. So yeah, we'll go straight into it. Now, also with our tipping, if you don't know how it works, if we get new viewers over YouTube, for Premier League matches, we will do we got no tips this week. So
no tips this week.
You'll probably find out next episode.
It's probably easier to do it when we're actually doing tips.
Yeah. So for the Premier League, we predict a score as well as the winner. And if you get it completely right, you get 3 points. If you just get the result right, but you get the score wrong, it's just 1 point. And if you get it completely wrong, no points are given out. And then for the Champions League, we just pick a winner or a result, whether that be a draw, a winner, or a loss. And and then that's worth 1 point. And that all gets added up to our tally. And then we'll go through a tally at the end as well because it's pretty close.
Yeah, it is
So
very close at the moment.
Yeah. First game. These two were to finish off match week 7. We had Fulham 2, West Brom 0. What did you first predict?
I predicted a 2-2 draw.
Yes, and do you know what I predicted?
The same?
No. 2-0 Fulham. I got it right. The first tip of the week started off with a 3. If you don't know what the scores were before the start of this, it was 55 to 58. So I was 3 points behind. I just leveled it up straight away with the first game there. And then the next game to finish off match week 7, we had Leeds 1, Leicester City 4. Big result there for Leicester City.
Yeah, it was. It was indeed.
What did you predict?
I tipped 3-2 to Leeds.
Yes, as you always do, as we mentioned last episode.
Yes, I have a habit of predicting that scoreline when it comes to Leeds.
Yeah, and I also got it wrong because I did a 1-1 draw. So no points are given out there.
Yeah, obviously Leeds beat them. Leeds lost, to Leicester, 4-1.
So next up, we had the Champions League. The Wednesday fixtures, obviously, first up. We'll go through group by group. That's probably the easiest way to figure out where we're at. But we'll start off with Group A. We had Lokomotiv Moscow 1, Atletico Madrid 1. What did you predict first?
I predicted Atletico to win.
I did the exact
If you're
same.
unaware, we just predict who's going to win or if it's a draw.
Yep.
So, yes.
Big result, honestly. I wrote an article, as I always do every week. And I mentioned some groups to watch out for because obviously halfway through the group stage, and Lokomotiv Moscow are dangerous. They took it to Bayern. They just narrowly lost. They've got a point out of Atletico Madrid, and they get to play them again. Obviously not at home this time, but they'll have another chance to steal 3 points. And if they do steal 3 points, they will go on top of them into the progression stage. But yeah, I think that's definitely one match to watch out for. Atletico Madrid are not as safe as they look right now, if that's one way to put it. What's the next game?
The next game was Shakhtar Donetsk. I have it in a different order.
You don't have it in order. All right. So I'll just go through every game.
Yeah.
So the next game we had was RB Salzburg 2, Bayern Munich 6. Absolute smashing.
Salzburg? Oh, okay.
It looks like a smashing.
Yeah.
It's not that result does not paint the entire picture. Obviously, if you watch the game, the scores were tied in the 78th minute or 79th minute. And Bayern went and scored 4 goals in about 12 minutes or so and completely blew them out of the water. If Salzburg had held on for that result, not only would it have been a shock to the group, they would have also broken Bayern's record for consecutive wins, which they could have done, honestly. What do you predict for that one?
I predicted Bayern to win.
Yeah, I did that as well. So we both get our first points. Or you get your first points for that game. I grab another one. Moving on to Group B, we had another killing. Shakhtar Donetsk 0, Borussia Mönchengladbach 6. What?
Wow.
And just to add,
you're gonna win the whole thing.
I think Shakhtar and Real Madrid are equal on points in the group right now.
Yep.
Borussia Mönchengladbach are ahead. But I think if you look on the Champions League website, it has Donetsk or Shakhtar hitting second, even though their goal difference is negative, which I think it's odd that they do that. But anyway, Sergio, no, that's Real Madrid's game. I didn't even write that game in my notes.
Oh, well.
Oh, no, I did. It's right there, but never mind.
It was a big win anyway.
For
Mönchengladbach.
Yeah. 6 goals again, as we mentioned in the Wednesday fixtures. I think it was 35 goals alone in those 8 games. So very big scoreline there.
Yeah.
To wrap up Group B for this week, we had Real Madrid 3, Inter 2.
Very surprised to see Real Madrid get over the top of Internazionale. Yeah. Obviously, it didn't go so well for them after the match with Eden Hazard and another player. I can't remember who else. Testing positive for coronavirus.
Yeah.
So we hope they get better soon, and hopefully there are no Inter Milan players that contracted it.
Especially Hazard. Because Hazard's just come back from injury.
I think he has.
Yeah.
And now he'll be off for at least 2 weeks.
Straight back on the sidelines, but yeah. What else happened in this game? I think Sergio Ramos scored his 100th goal for the club, which is pretty significant for a centre-back.
He didn't get red carded?
Yeah, he didn't get red carded. He's been there for quite some time now, and he's always popped up with goals every now and again. So,
I mean, he's their captain, so...
Yeah, very good achievement for him there. Yeah, anything else to mention on Group B?
Not really.
What'd you predict for that game?
That one I predicted Inter Milan to win.
And I did a draw, and we also predicted Mönchengladbach for the last game.
Yes.
So we both got a point for that one, but we both get no points for the Real Madrid game. So moving on to Group C now, we got Manchester City 3, Olympiacos 0. Pretty straightforward result. I think City are going to cruise through the group once again, as they do every year.
Most years, yeah.
Probably the last 3 or 4 years they've cruised through that group.
Yep.
Whether it be first or second, but yeah, pretty straightforward. What did you predict for that one?
I predicted Manchester City to win, and they did.
And I have done the exact same. And then the other game for Group C, Porto 3, Marseille 0. Another pretty straightforward result.
Yep.
I think both Porto and Man City will advance through. If they continue to go the way they are, I think they'll go straight through the knockout stages. Marseille, don't think they have a win yet. And Olympiacos have a draw or maybe a win. I think Olympiacos actually might have beaten Marseille. Now, I should have done me bloody research, but anyway, it's relevant because they're not going through. Let's put it that way. Group D. Now, very happy with this one. I can't wipe the smile off my face because I just remembered what a good game this was. Atalanta 0, Liverpool 5.
Yes. And if you're new to this podcast, Tom goes for Atalanta, so he was definitely... he goes for Liverpool, as you can see with his... this is Anfield poster, so yeah, it was a big win for Liverpool.
Away from home?
Don't know... Hey?
Away from home.
Away from home, yeah.
And
so this is not Anfield.
No, and it was the second time, I believe, in the... Oh, no, it wasn't this season or the Champions League. Atalanta failed to actually score a goal, which is very rare for them because they either concede a lot but score more, or they just score more and not concede, and they've done the complete opposite. Another thing to mention, at this stage, obviously, you know that the Liverpool-Man City result, but at this time, this was Liverpool's 5th win in a row without Van Dijk since Van Dijk got injured. So
maybe Van Dijk was not a good luck charm after all.
We haven't lost that. Let's put it that way. We haven't lost since Van Dijk has been injured.
But you've lost points, and we'll get to that later on.
And the other game for Group D, we have Midtjylland, Midtjylland 1, Ajax 2. Now, this game was also interesting because Midtjylland actually took it to Ajax. I didn't have any other notes on that game, but yeah, Ajax just scraped through. And if you're unaware with the group, I think Liverpool on 9, Midtjylland on 0 at the end of the group, and both other teams are, I believe, on 4 points in the middle of the group. So that group will come down to the wire between them two, and obviously both of them. I think Ajax missed out last year in the group stages, I think, but Atalanta went through to the semi-finals, I believe. So I'd be very disappointed if both those teams missed out. If both those teams missed out, they would be very disappointed.
Yeah, it would be.
But yeah, that was it for the Wednesday fixtures. We'll swiftly move on to the Thursday fixtures. To start off, we had Sevilla 3, Krasnodar 2. What did you predict for this one?
I predicted Sevilla to win.
Yep.
And they did.
Done the same. I keep forgetting all these predictions. What did you predict for the Atalanta-Liverpool game? You did Liverpool. And I did a draw, so you actually get a point there.
Mm-hmm.
And we both predicted Ajax for the other game. So yeah, Sevilla that was a very good game. If you're unaware, Krasnodar went 2-0 up. Sevilla pulled it back. They kicked 3 in a row with 10 men. So pretty impressive win there. And proved to be vital. They probably will go through now. I think Sevilla and Chelsea are both on 7 points after 3 games. So they'll both go through.
Yeah, it looks that way.
And then the other game in Group E, Chelsea 3, Rennes 0. We both predicted Chelsea in that one.
Yeah, big win for Chelsea again after coming off a 4-0 win in against Krasnodar. And a 4-0 win in the Premier League as well. I
thought you were talking about the Brighton game. But that was a while ago anyway. That was still like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, yeah, good.
Fair few talking points from this one.
Okay, there are. But first off, I just want to say that shouldn't have been a red card.
Oh, yes. That wasn't a red card. No. It was handball.
It was handball.
In the box. It's kicked up off his foot, hit his arm, and he's just been given it wasn't a straight red. It was his second yellow, wasn't it? I believe it was the second yellow. But that's so harsh.
It was
so harsh.
Against a Rennes player. I cannot remember his name.
Yeah.
That's my fault. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But the...
resulted in a penalty.
Yeah, the referee had to go and check VAR, as we do now. He put his hand up, though. Like, the player put his hand up. So it wasn't... I don't know if it was natural or unnatural, but I don't want to get into all the things we've talked about in previous podcasts. But it was awarded as a penalty. I think leave it at that. I think it was very harsh to give him another yellow, which got him sent off and meant that they had to play the other half, because this was just before half time.
With 10 men.
With 10 men.
A lot of positives I guess the main positive for Chelsea in this one was that...
Big win.
Not only was it a big win, it was their 5th game in a row without conceding a goal.
Yeah.
Which hadn't been done since 2010, thanks to Petr Cech.
Yeah, I think that's
10 years later.
Down to our Chelsea's new goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy, the saviour.
He's been so impressive. I think you've been probably more impressed than I have, because I had decent expectations.
I had expectations, but I still look. I never thought he was going to be our long-term number one. Now I'm my mind's changed a bit. He's done very well. But I don't really want to take away from Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta and James and the defense.
It's a whole defensive
has been pretty decent for the last
display.
5-6 matches anyway.
Yeah. So is that all you had for that one?
Yeah.
Both predicted Chelsea, as we said.
Happy to see another Chelsea win.
Yes.
But yeah, not much more to say on that one.
And it was also against his old side, Rennes.
Yeah, it was against Edouard Mendy's old side. And I just found out, I didn't actually know this. Don't know how much of, if it makes me look like a good Chelsea supporter or not, or if it makes me look like a bad Chelsea supporter or not. Petr Cech actually came from Rennes as well.
Really?
Yeah, he came straight from Rennes to Chelsea.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I didn't know that.
I
wasn't really.
And he was at the game watching, because it was at Stamford Bridge, of course.
As was Mark Schwarzer.
Yes.
Petr Cech's mate. Oh, Petr Cech, he was his best mate at his wedding, wasn't he?
He was, Petr Cech was...
Goalkeeper union.
Mark Schwarzer's best man.
Yeah.
They obviously played at Chelsea together. Yeah, so Mark Schwarzer and Petr Cech are good friends. Obviously, Petr Cech's on the list.
Moving on to Group F in the Champions League, we'll kick off with Zenit 1, Lazio 1. Another very impressive result from, not from Lazio, it's very disappointing from Lazio. A very surprising result from Zenit, managing to grab a draw there. What was I going to mention? Lazio have been fairly disappointing since match day 1, that win they had against Dortmund, but since then they have failed to get a win, drawing against Bruges and Zenit. What are your thoughts on them right now? Can they qualify? I think they can qualify.
Will they qualify? I don't think they will, though.
You really think they'll miss out?
Yeah.
I think... I'm not sure whether they're coming up fixture against... obviously, they'll have a home fixture against Zenit in the next match, but after that, I don't know if they're Bruges games at home or not, because that'll prove to be
I think
very
Bruges could
hard.
go through.
You think? Yeah, I think Zenit one loss away from being put back too far, and then I think it'll be either Dortmund will go through pretty easily from here.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a
top.
2-horse race for second. That's what I predicted anyway. But yeah, Dortmund on the other hand beating Club Brugge 3-0. We both predicted Lazio as well for the last game, so no points there. Dortmund beating Club Brugge 3-0. We both predicted Dortmund as well. Very impressive. After you said Ciro Immobile would get a hat-trick, I then said Erling Haaland would score a hat-trick, and he got taken off with a brace.
So we
not
should
like
not...
in a brace like he hurt himself. He scored a brace, and then he was taken off. So I was like, you're joking. Like,
So we shouldn't mention who's going to score what, because we've got a curse.
yeah, it's a curse. But yeah, Dortmund, I think, from now, if they... you can say this for any team, but as long as they don't stuff up, they should go through from here. What do we got next? Group G, I believe it is.
Yes.
Sorry, one moment. So Group G, what do we got? Barcelona 2, Dynamo Kiev 1.
Yeah.
Both predicting Barcelona.
Yeah, it wasn't really surprised, I don't think.
Yeah, I wasn't really surprised at this one. I think I was more surprised that Kiev actually scored, to be honest. But
Yes.
yeah, Barca. Yeah, no talking points there from me. Next game, what do we have? Group G as well. Ferencváros 1, Juventus 4. Another pretty crazy
Ronaldo back.
result. Ronaldo, yeah, back. He scored 2. Oh no, he scored 2 in Serie A. I don't know if he scored.
I didn't.
I know Dybala scored. Don't know why. But anyway, yeah, Dybala did score. And I think Morata scored 2. That's who scored 2.
Yeah.
And someone else scored 1. But yeah, moving on to the final group, Group H, the alphabet. I never learnt it.
Letters.
Yeah, letters. What is going on with this? Sorry. Oh yeah. We'll start off with the Leipzig game. Leipzig 2, PSG 1. What do you predict?
Close, but Leipzig, very well done.
Yeah, we both predicted a draw. There's a few talking points here. Firstly, with PSG, very disappointing result for them. More frustrating than not. They ended up with 2 red cards. I think it was Marquinhos and... No, it was Kimpembe and someone else. Anywho, they finished the game off with 9 men, which didn't make it any easier for them, as they were... Well, they did take the lead, sorry. Leipzig then scored 2. But then PSG pretty much had no way of getting back into it, as they were pretty much defending for the entire last 15 minutes. Leipzig obviously have a very attacking tactic under Nagelsmann. But yeah, I think this then puts PSG in danger. We'll talk about the next fixture, then we'll talk about the group overall, I think. The last result for the UCL this week, we had Istanbul Başakşehir 2, Manchester United 1. Now, just when we thought Manchester United have won a couple games in a row, they might be off their slump, they can use this to take the next step. They've gone and just straight down the hill. Mate, what the heck's going on here?
I said it last week when I picked Manchester United for the first time.
Yeah, we both said.
After they had won their matches in the Champions League, I said they'll lose because I picked them, and they did. So
they did. Oh, mate.
I'll keep picking them.
Crazy bad.
No, I don't know. Yeah, weird.
It was such a bad result. Like, especially
the goals too. They were really.
It was just
walkovers.
Defensive errors. It was defensive. Just
down.
Lack of defensive.
Yeah, and Henderson was in goal, which is really upsetting.
Disappointing for him. His first start for the season
puts him back in the pecking order.
Well, he didn't start on the weekend either. Well, obviously it's 3-day turnaround, but didn't start against Everton.
Does that say to you though that maybe they thought Everton would be a harder game, so they put De Gea on the ice because it was such long term?
I think you can look at it that way and say maybe they thought, let's give De Gea a break, and
because they wanted to win Everton more than they wanted to win. I suppose Solskjaer's
it's just backfired
job
completely.
at the moment is more dependent on the Premier League results. I mean, his job overall, keeping his job, is more dependent on the Premier League results.
Because that's the league that they're currently failing in right now. They're still top of the group, fortunately because of the Leipzig result. But yeah, the group as a whole. Well, sorry, we'll both mention. We both picked Man United.
Yep.
No points. The group as a whole, it remains tight now because United are on 2 wins, 1 loss, 6 points. PSG are on 3 points, I believe. Basak are also on 3 points. Like it could go down to the wire. I feel like, well, this is the group that I thought would be, the most entertaining at the start, and it's actually proven that so far. I hope it goes down to the wire, and I hope obviously I hope Manchester United miss out and go into the Europa League.
I probably do too, a little bit.
I think another thing to just mention in there, if PSG are to lose their next game against Leipzig, they could go to the Europa League. Like, what is going on there? Yeah. They could go down to the Europa League.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Do you think Manchester United could lose to Istanbul at Old Trafford?
I think anything's possible.
It'd be hard to just completely write them off, considering they just beat them, but I don't see them.
It'll be harder, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Istanbul.
Yeah. Anyway, speed through the match of week 8 of the Premier League. Where do we start off? Brighton and Hove Albion.
Start, probably.
Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Burnley 0. Very boring start to the week. What did you predict for that one?
I predicted 2-1 to Brighton.
We've done the same. No points there as it was drawn. And no talking points. Next game. Southampton 2, Newcastle 0. Pretty straightforward win for them.
Yeah, it was indeed. I predicted a 4-1 to Southampton, and they ended up winning 2-0. So 1 point for me. I also
did Southampton 3-1. Only thing to mention from this one, this game put Southampton on top of the Premier League for the first time ever. Which is very impressive for them, considering at the start they had a pretty shaky start to the Premier League, and they've come up. They had 2 odd results at the start, and they've pretty much won every game since. So yeah, very good for Southampton there. 1 point each for us for the result. Next up, this was Manchester United's revival, 3-1 against Everton. What did you predict here?
I predicted a 3-1.
Everton,
but in Everton's favour, not Manchester United's.
Yeah. I've gone with a draw, 2-2. Didn't come to fruition either. Now, I'll just quickly mention this. I know you're not the biggest Bruno Fernandes fan. Oh, are you a Bruno Fernandes fan? Do you respect? Well, obviously you respect.
I don't mind him. I'm not a big fan though.
I have a couple stats here about Bruno Fernandes that you might want to know. Bruno Fernandes now has 5 goals this season, so equal 4th in the league, more than any other midfielder. And he also has 7 open play goals since his debut, which is the most for a midfielder. So he's not a penalty merchant. He's plastered as a penalty merchant, but...
No, I think Manchester United are plastered as a penalty merchant team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of hard because I was going to mention this, but I don't want to keep taking up too much time. I think the Premier League is just... There's penalties in every other game now. Like there was 2 penalties in the Liverpool game overnight. There was one in the I forgot. But anyway, you can watch every other game. There's almost going to be a penalty because it's now become easier to get a penalty.
Yeah.
Another quick thing on Bruno Fernandes. Since his Premier League debut, only Mo Salah with 14 has scored more goals than Bruno's 13, and he's also registered the most assists since his debut with 9. So very impressive stats. He's hit the ground running at Manchester United. Yes. But Manchester United have not hit the ground running.
So the next match was Crystal Palace taking on Leeds.
Yep. We had 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1 win to Crystal Palace.
Smashing. We both predicted 1-0 Leeds. No points there.
No, I predicted 3-2 Leeds.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I've had a mare with the notes.
Anyway, we both didn't get that right.
Yeah, no. Is Leeds on a hype train? Were they on a hype train? Are they off the hype train? They sit 15th right now.
They've dropped off a little bit.
They were very good early on, but...
They can come back.
they obviously can come. Any team can win it from here still.
Yeah.
You can say that.
It is possible for any team that could win it. Not every team can win it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes without saying, I think.
Did you see the VAR offside decision for Bamford?
No, I didn't.
Let's just put it this way. So he's received a cross. Bamford's in the middle of the ground, running forward. I love this now because they can see my hand movements I couldn't do on the podcast. So anyway, Bamford's beelining it through the middle. He's pointing where he wants it. He wants it here, but it turns out the defender's sitting right here, which then puts his shoulder offside, and the ball comes in, he scores, and then it's gone to VAR, and he's offside because he's pointing where he wants the ball.
We've talked about this in another podcast, and about the VAR rules.
Yep.
That's a bit ridiculous to me, but
it's honestly like
it is what it is.
It's a rule. It's a rule. The decision was correct thanks to the rule, but the rule is wrong. Like the rule isn't. We've done this 1,000 times, honestly.
Yeah.
One of the professional game match officials board members, bloody mouthful that is. Keith Hackett said just simply the decision was wrong. Well, the decision is simply wrong. That's what he said. It's ridiculous that your body part that you're pointing with is offside when you didn't score with that body part. That's the way I just put it that way. We'll leave it at that for now. We may have a completely massive episode on it one day.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next match was Brighton taking on Burnley. No, it wasn't. That was from we already mentioned that. Sorry.
Chelsea game.
The Chelsea game. Chelsea taking on Sheffield at Stamford Bridge. I predicted a 3-0 win to Chelsea, and it was a 4-1 win to Chelsea.
Yep. So both getting a point there. Unfortunately, conceding that goal, but
still pretty good.
It was going to come down. They still won by 3 goals.
Yeah.
Sorry, in the end. Any talking points?
Not many. No.
No.
I think we just move on.
Sorry, 1 second.
West Ham, West Brom, Spurs. West Ham and Fulham, and then West Brom, Spurs.
Ziyech. He's been bloody good. His first 2 games for Chelsea during the week.
First 2 man of the matches.
Yeah. Is he the new Eden Hazard? That's what he's been called.
I think that's what he was
bought for.
Pegged as, but I think you could say the same thing about Pulisic.
Yeah.
They're both very good.
A bit more...
They're better,
Ziyech's got that edge. I feel like, Ziyech.
I mean, we saw this at Ajax.
Yeah. Absolutely unreal. And he killed it in the Champions League for Ajax in all the seasons he's played there. Another mention, Thiago Silva scored his first goal for Chelsea in that game as well.
Yep.
Thanks to a Ziyech assist. So just add him in there again. Anything else you want to add for that one?
Clean sheet from Mendy?
No, he didn't.
Huh?
It's 4-1.
Oh, sorry. Not a clean sheet from Mendy, but should have been.
Anyway, next game. What do we got? West Ham Fulham. Oh, boy. I watched this game. And I've never laughed this hard at a game in that long. The game ended 1-0 to West Ham. We both predicted a 3-1 West Ham, so we both get a point there. What the heck was going on through Ademola Lookman's head, taking a penalty in the 98th minute to equalise and potentially save his team? Like, they need these points. They're down the bottom of the table. They need points. And he's gone and tried to, what's it called? Panenka? When you chip the keeper.
Oh, I don't know what it's
called. I don't know how to say it.
I'll take your word for it.
He tried to chip the keeper in the 98th minute to equalise, and the chip didn't even make the keeper. It landed right in the keeper's, I don't know, saving area.
Nervous.
Yeah, but that's the way he takes he's scored that penalties like that before. And people are saying, the commentators during the game were saying it can't be nerves, because if you've got nerves, you're more likely to just put your foot straight through the ball and not think about placing it.
Yeah,
it's just an odd decision. Everyone, it's been plastered as the worst penalty in history, Premier League history. It's pretty harsh, and for a young guy, social media's gonna bloody clobber him for this, but he'll come back. And Fulham's penalty woes just continue. Mitrovic missed penalties. Kamara then stole the ball off Mitrovic to take a penalty and missed. And now Lookman's missed this one, so doesn't look good for Fulham at this stage. What's the next game here?
Is West Brom and Spurs.
Yes. West Brom were in this game. Finished 1-0 to Tottenham.
Yeah, close.
What'd you
Came
predict?
down to the last few minutes.
What did you predict for that one?
I predicted a 5-0 to Spurs.
Yeah, and I've done... I did 4-0 Spurs, so equally bad.
Way off the mark there.
Yeah, we still get a point. We'll take that. West Brom actually dominated the first half. They had like 8 or 9 attempts on goal in the first half. But Tottenham then scoring the late winner through Harry Kane in the 88th minute to...
It could have been just they thought that, they weren't going to be that good. And obviously...
there's not
Spurs
high
are a lot better.
Yeah, there's no real high expectations on West Brom at this stage.
Just one of those matches, I think. 1-0. Yes. Done the job, got the 3 points.
And
Bale... They won't be too upset about that.
Bale also got his first start at Tottenham since his arrival.
Good to see.
And he didn't really disappoint. Played a decent match. Obviously, there wasn't many highlights, but that's all right. What else do we have? Next game.
The next game is Leicester taking on... took on Wolves in Leicester. I predicted a 2-2 draw. The match ended 1-0 to Leicester. What do you predict?
I did a 1-1 draw. So both did draws. No points there. I don't think there was many talking points there. Except Leicester have received 8 penalties this season in 8 games. This is what I mean with the Premier League and the penalties. Last season it took them 16 matches to get 1 penalty. So take that with a pinch of salt.
Disappointing there. The next match was Manchester City and Liverpool,
yes,
which ended in a 1-1 draw. What did you predict for that one?
I did a 2-2 draw, so I actually get a point there.
I did a 2-3 to Liverpool.
Yes.
I just thought Liverpool were going to not walk over, but I thought they were going to win just because of their Manchester City's poor performances recently.
Yeah, it was a pretty decent first half. Both teams came out firing. De Bruyne missed the penalty that would have actually won the game in the end of the day. Wasn't saved. He actually missed everything.
A bit of a boo-boo from KDB.
He could have done a chip. He could have done a chip goal. It would have gone in. He could have done a Lookman. Roy Keane had some words to say about Kyle Walker. Called him an idiot because of the... what was it?
Roy Keane will say anything, won't he?
Mane won the penalty and he's like... someone asked him, how's Mane won that penalty? And Roy Keane goes, because he's up against an idiot.
Yes, but in an Irish accent.
Yeah,
that sounds even funny.
Yeah, it does sound quite funny.
Not that there's anything wrong with the Irish or the Irish accent. It's just Roy Keane says all kinds of things all the time.
Yeah. He also called his season a car crash or something along those lines.
Harsh. Just a little bit harsh.
He said he doesn't know why everyone's getting all this hype from Walker this season. Like, I don't know.
I mean, he's the fastest player in Manchester City.
In his squad, yeah.
He's even been a goalkeeper on some occasions.
And he scored goals this season.
Yeah,
I can't
think
say
it's harsh
season's
to call
been too bad.
Car crash.
Yeah, I can't say
especially because what's that? How many matches in? It's not 8 even matches. Like we're a quarter of the way through yet. So.
And final talking point about this one, Trent Alexander-Arnold was subbed out in the second half with a lower leg injury. It looked like a calf, and Klopp already ruled him out for his English duties.
That is not good, but hopefully it's not a long-term issue.
Hopefully not. The way, I didn't watch the post-match interview, but the fact that he just said English duty, didn't say afterwards. He's going to get scans, obviously, probably. As we're speaking, maybe even earlier.
They probably don't know yet, and that's probably why they ruled him out straight away for the English duties, not just...
another Liverpool defender to go down.
And the last match of the week was Arsenal taking on Aston Villa, and it resulted in a 3-0 in Villa's favour. Thumping.
What did you predict?
The Emirates. I predicted 2-1, so I thought 2-1 to Villa. I thought Villa were going to win, but I didn't think it was going to be... like a 3-goal deficit.
Yeah. I also did a 1-0 Villa win. So I thought Villa would win. Ollie Watkins scoring a brace, and Villa's away record continues. So that's all for the tipping. We've probably been chatting for about an hour. We'll have to condense this down. Oh, we've probably been chatting for about 40 minutes, but we'll condense it down, obviously, for you guys. So tips this week, you got 16, I got 19. So brought back the 3 deficit I had, and we're now equal on 74. Early days, and the score's really high. I'm going to have to rethink this tipping for next season, but...
Yeah, we could draw.
Could draw.
At this rate, we haven't been much apart. We haven't been far apart the whole season.
I don't think we've been more than like 5 apart. Oh, more than 10 apart. Well, I think once it gets to that point, we're going to be starting to freak out and like make some more rash decisions.
Yeah.
Anyway, now we'll move on to our main segment, talking about Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, and there are no tips this week, so we will do that now.
For our main segment today, as we've mentioned about 30 times already today, we're talking about Pep Guardiola. Is he a tactical freak or lucky fraud? We will get to that. I could say. I'm not going to say.
Okay.
Let's go through his... I suppose we'll go through each of his seasons. This is only at Man City, by the way. But we'll go through each of his seasons, I suppose, and see like how he's developed his squad. And then we'll go through his tactics at the end, how he's developed those. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of talk about Pep and how he's, bought his way up to where he is, which I can say half of it's true, half of it's not, because he has a philosophy there and he's buying the players for that. And he's obviously going to buy the best players available to do that. And they've got that much money coming in. So why the hell not?
Yeah, I think that any manager in his position would be spending as much as they can to get the best players. That's really what you aim for if you want to be a top club. Yeah. And I don't think he's made any really shocking purchases.
Yeah. I say like some of them, obviously, people have criticised him for buying like what $400 million £400 million worth of defenders, and a lot of them have been moved on already. But what are you going to do? That's like half of his... I'll get to his tactics in the end, but a lot of it actually revolve around defenders. Surprisingly, when they have that attacking pressing style. So we'll move on to his first season at Man City, which was the 2016-17 season. He was appointed Man City manager, signed a 3-year deal. He went on to sign... We won't talk about the outs more. We'll just talk about the ins, like who he brought in to bring him to fit his philosophy. So he's spent 215 million euros in his first year there. It's quite large. That's quite a large amount. Like coming into a club and spending that straight away. I mean, take that as you will. But like a lot of these are actually good signings. Like I'll go through the highlighted ones. John Stones, he's still at the club. Bought him for about £55 million. However, Leroy Sané had a very good period at the club. One of their best wingers for quite a few seasons. Gabriel Jesus is now one of their best strikers at the moment. Aguero is injured. But during Pep's tenure at Man City, he's more been a backup striker option to Aguero. Ilkay Gundogan, he's also a starter at the moment. Started every Champions League game this season, so that one's also stayed. And Claudio Bravo, who was their keeper for probably 2 seasons until they brought Edison in. So yeah, in the first season, it was his first ever season as a manager to not win any trophies.
Yeah, I mean, but then when you're at Barcelona and you have the greatest player of all time on your team,
it's pretty hard not to win trophies. It's
pretty hard, yeah, exactly. I think this came up as a topic when I saw something on, I believe it was Instagram, it might have been YouTube or Facebook, I can't remember, or maybe even Twitter. And it was saying, it was a statement that said, basically, the reason that Guardiola's team doesn't work as it has done is because they don't have Messi, and his whole style was the tiki-taka system, as it's been called, From that, 09, how long was it? 2013, 2012, whatever.
Yeah.
When they were so successful, it was centered around Messi, and what he could do, amongst other things. And I think, they've won leagues, so it obviously still works. But they're nowhere near as dominant. Like Pep's teams have not been nowhere near as dominant as they were when they had Messi when he was at Barcelona. Now, is that just cause that just Messi? I think probably that's most of it. And who knows? If Manchester City managed to get Messi in January, we could see a return to it. I mean, he'll be a lot older, but
he still wouldn't arrive until the start of the next season anyway. I think we'll talk about more of that after we get through all these seasons there. Finished third in the Premier League, reached a round of 16 in the Champions League in his first season. Not bad. But yeah, when you're spending, this is like the people's main concern, or the social media, or observers' main concern is that when you spend 215 million euros or around that much money, like, you should be successful off the bat. And the fact that it was his first season there is so harsh. Like, think about how harsh it is. Like, come in for one season, they've finished third, they've still qualified for Champions League, they've still got a good base to start their team off.
Yeah, no,
like, a lot of those players are still at the club. Like,
yeah, no, I think it was a good season. He spent a lot of money, but
obviously Chelsea won the league that year.
Yeah,
pretty easily.
I don't know. I can't really fault what he did there. I mean, it takes time to rebuild a club, and that's what he has done, as we've seen. And the owners, they've got the money, so he's going to spend it.
Yeah,
I don't really think there's much of a problem with it.
Yeah. Moving on to the next season, his second season in charge. Let's say he was beginning to spend a little bit more money.
Yeah, he got a bit of a taste for it.
Yeah, so he realised what the defence was missing, and he went out and bought Edison, Mendy, Kyle Walker, Emerick Laporte, and at the same time he removed, the veterans of the defence was in, like, Kolarov, Gal Clichy, Sagna, and Zabaleta. So that's pretty much a whole defence out, a new defence in, which obviously proved to work. He also brought in Bernardo Silva and Danilo no longer at the club, obviously. So he spent 317.5 million euros that period.
Yeah, so up again from the previous year.
After two seasons.
How did they do that season?
Yeah, so, I'll say after 2 seasons he spent, 530 million euros. They won the Carabao Cup and they finished the Premier League on 100 points, winning the league.
Yeah. So
now I think Manchester United was second that year. Tottenham may have been third. I'm not too sure. Liverpool fourth. Chelsea might have been third anyway. And then after that season, he re-signed until 2021. So just pretty much solidified him, and all those haters just shut up.
Yeah.
But you're still 500 plus million spent over 2 years was unheard of at the time. I think that was the period where Neymar and Mbappe started moving to PSG, and it stuffed up the whole transfer market for what it is today. So we'll move on to the next season, where they went back to back, 2018-19.
Yep.
And this was, in Pep's words, to win the title, we had to win 14 games in a row. This was the toughest title in all of my career by far. I think that says something that this is the year Liverpool almost won it. They won by 1 point, City with.
Yeah. I think that says more about the strengthening of the Liverpool side than it does of Pep and Manchester City.
Because, before that, in the 2017-18 season, City won the league by... Well, they won it pretty convincingly.
Quite convincingly, yeah.
But this just brought a whole new element to the squad, not to the squad, but to the competition they had to face. So yeah, they bought Mahrez in. That was pretty much the other, among other minor purchases. So a total net spend that year of 78.6 million euros, which then add that on, that's about 600 or so all up.
Yep.
They won the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, and the Community Shield. So they did the domestic quadruple, I suppose. But Community Shield
doesn't really
count as a trophy.
It counts as a trophy, but it's not a...
Yeah, and they made it to the quarterfinals in the Champions League as they did the year before. So yeah, after winning that, yeah, that's what he said. It was the first men's team in England to win the domestic treble. Put it that. Say that.
Yep.
Next season. This is last season. Yeah, 2019-20 season. Nothing wrong with second place.
Says a Liverpool fan, yeah.
They brought in João Cancelo. What is that? Oh, Rodri. Rodri and Angelino.
What is that?
It looked like room.
They brought in room.
So yeah, he spent another 159.2 million.
Yeah, so his spending's gone down a little bit.
Yeah, I think this is the year before and this. The year before last and last season were more just, depth. Like the players he brought in were then depth players, and these players, obviously, starts, Rodri starts, Angelino's on loan at RB Leipzig at the moment. He was at City until January, and then he went off last season. But yeah, if these ins made the value of City's squad exceed €1 billion, first squad in history to hit €1 billion value.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and now I think Liverpool is also at $1 billion.
It'd be close, yeah.
I think PSG is also at I don't know. I don't know about PSG. I think it's just Manchester City and Liverpool at the moment. And also in that season, they won their third Carabao Cup in a row, second in the Premier League, and third time in a row they finished in the quarterfinals in the Champions League, which is the one trophy that's eluded them this entire time.
It was what Pep was brought to City to do. I don't think he'd leave until he's done it, and I think,
if it's not this season, what's
if
next?
It's not this season, when is it?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're looking like they could do it this season. They've been pretty strong in the Champions League, not so much in the Premier League, but
yeah,
excuse me, in the Champions League they have done pretty well.
So yeah, we'll go to this season, and then we'll go through all the expenditure, I suppose. So far this season, he's brought in Ferran Torres, Ruben Diaz, Nathan Ake. That's the players that highlighted the window, for a total cost of €171.8 million. Again, his lowest expenditure in his tenure at City is 78.6 mil.
I think the reason he brought in so many players is because of what happened last season with Liverpool, and they just went so far ahead so quickly. He didn't spend as much as he had been doing, and I mean Liverpool didn't spend a lot, but I don't know. I think he just he wasn't risking anything.
Yeah,
it hasn't really worked in the Premier League so far.
I think his main concern with what happened last season, in the year before where Liverpool won the league, they came second. The reason they weren't able to really face up to other clubs is because Laporte was out injured the entire season. As we're now seeing with Liverpool, they're having a centre-back shortage. And this is what happened to City the year before. So yeah, that's why they brought in Diaz and Ake. And we're seeing this season so far, they're starting Diaz and Laporte as their main centre-backs, Ake and Stones on the bench. So that just shows if they were to lose, say, Laporte, then in comes another world-class centre-back ready to replace it. And I think that, again, shows not only the trust that players have in him, knowing that Ake could have gone to a lower club and played every game, or go to City, have success, maybe not play every game, but, his role is still there.
Yeah, he's chosen to go to the big club and be part of a team where he knows he probably won't get as many starts as he'd like, but, it builds him up for the future as well.
Yeah. So we'll go through I've kind of said all of the money that they've spent, but all up, he spent €924.4 million over 5 seasons.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot. Very close to $1 billion. Yeah.
And if he gets Messi, it will be.
Well, it depends if he pays for Messi. It's free.
Oh no, actually no.
Yeah,
that's
a free
that's
transfer.
Completely right. Yeah.
So now we'll move on to the tactics side of it, because this is where all of the talk about him being a fraud essentially gets rubbed out, because he's a genius.
He is a genius.
These are just some points.
In terms of geniuses,
this is just the tip of the iceberg as well. I've only got 2 pages of notes. Yeah. It's the tip of the iceberg. Like, there's so much more to it.
In terms of football geniuses in the Premier League at the moment, you have Marcelo Bielsa, then Pep Guardiola. They're very close.
Yeah, they are
and
warming
then
up
Klopp
the
would be there too.
They're warming up the middle of the Premier League very well right now.
Yeah. No, that doesn't mean he's not a genius though.
No, I know. So I'm just gonna basically read this book word for word, because I haven't really read it since I wrote it, which was just this morning anyway. Sure. So his tactic style, his playing style, is formally known as a disciplined, aggressive pressing style. That's what it's broken down to, essentially. As we saw, not so much in the start of his managerial career, but more in the 2011s, 12s, 13s, he actually played a 3-4-3 formation. And it wasn't very common back then, because playing against teams that would play like maybe a 4-1-2-1-2, 2 strikers against 3 defenders, people wondered, why would you put yourself at such risk to do this? And the first time he did this was in a UEFA Champions League match. I don't remember who it was against, but they won 5-0.
Yeah, so it worked.
It worked straight off the bat. First time ever using it. Worked straight off the bat. That's just one thing that we should mention. Not so much tactically, but people underestimated him straight off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he put it into...
I mean, for Manchester City or...
No, this was at Barcelona.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say, by the time you got
2000
to
and
City.
Early 2010s, yeah. I'll get to the City part near the end of this. But another thing that was also used, which was when he was a player, when Rijkaard was manager, and he used this when he's a manager also. It's called the 6-second rule. I watched a few videos on this, them training it. And he's brought this to City, and it's become more prominent in the Premier League. There's other names to it, like 5-second rule or whatever, but it's the same theory. If you lose possession, the players must put 100% effort to win the possession back within 6 seconds. And then if it is not won, everyone just goes behind the ball and makes it impossible for the opposition team to break down the defense. So that's that aggressive press straight away, and then they go back and they're disciplined. That's where that comes from.
Yeah, well, it works.
It does. And you now see that with Pochettino has used this at Tottenham, and Klopp uses this at Liverpool. That's quite big.
That's saying something, yeah.
Yeah, and, Poch, when he was at Tottenham, Champions League final, Liverpool won the Champions League final against Tottenham, and then won the league. City won the league before them twice. So, that rule itself has proven to be vital in those teams currently. So, yeah, difficult for the opposition to break down, and this strategy seen by them. So, yeah, another thing that his theory needs is confident defenders. And I think that's why he's gone through so many defenders, is that he's brought them in and they haven't been good enough, so he sold them. You've seen this with...
ruthlessness.
Yeah. You saw this with...
Ferguson?
I'm going back. Players that he's brought in.
Oh.
Blah, 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 blah.
I mean...
Bravo. He brought in Bravo. He was an older player, but he was out the next season. Edison came straight back in. I think they also had Danilo from Real Madrid.
Yep.
He was in for a couple of seasons. Not good enough. So what this is, these defenders develop a passing ability that's second to none. so that obviously, if you don't know Edison, he can kick the length of the pitch from a goal kick.
Yeah, and he's reported to be the best penalty taker.
I think he has. Yeah, he's the best penalty taker there, and I think he also has a world record for the longest goal kick. Which is another thing.
It's probably true. Yeah,
but that thing alone scares Premier League or any team that he faces because they immediately put defenders and sometimes midfielders on their attackers because he can kick that far.
Yeah. Unless he does what he did, I guess, was it Southampton last year?
Oh, when he scored.
Not
when he scored.
Where he stood on the edge of the box and they just chipped it over his head.
But this is another thing that I would bring up. The confidence gets to the point where they play a high line, and this high line is sometimes in their own half. Not in their own half, playing in the opposition's half, sorry. So they're pretty much on the halfway line or forward. And this means Edison's sitting somewhere in no man's land in his own half, which can be caught off.
That is not unique to Manchester City. I mean, we see this with Liverpool all the time now.
Yeah, you see it. It's becoming more used. It's just becoming more of a thing. But yeah, Edison's long pass creates a strategy within itself, and this is just since Edison arrived. So 2017, 18. His ability forced defenders and sometimes midfielders to mark their strikers, which made space in the midfield, which created a scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I have on this. There's, as I said, tip of the iceberg.
We could just the tip.
Yeah, there's so
of the iceberg.
Much. He's a freak. He's no fraud. I think he's just ruthless in the way.
He's good, yeah.
If he was...
that's a bit of an understatement, but yeah.
Let's say if he was at another club. Let's say it was Manchester United.
Club Bruges. Oh, okay.
Let's say it's Manchester United. He wouldn't be able to apply these.
He wouldn't go there, though,
apply it because they don't have the money to get... Well,
there you go, Manchester United.
They spent a lot of money on a defender. But...
I don't think he would have ever bought Maguire.
No. Because he wouldn't have fit the philosophy.
Pogba.
Maguire is not
or Wan-Bissaka, maybe.
Wan-Bissaka is a good defender. I don't think he's a good wing back.
He doesn't fit in the same.
Anyway, Maguire's... He's a big body.
Anyway, we're talking about Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, well, that is Pep's thing. He needs confident defenders, and I think he's got it at the moment. Ake was easily Bournemouth's best defender. Laporte is easily City's best defender. Ake was easily
Bournemouth's best player.
At Porto. Diaz at Porto is their best defender.
Yeah.
And he's looked good so far. Kyle Walker, again, very confident player. And all of those players can pass the ball insanely well.
Not as Roy Keane would call him, just an idiot.
Oh, car crash.
Car crash.
Roy Keane. Anyway, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about anything more?
Not really. I think I can't wait to see Messi at Manchester City. I can't wait to see Messi playing for Manchester City on a cold night. A cold Thursday night in the rain at Stoke when they get promoted this season, as fate would have it. And then we can see how good Messi is, and especially how good...
It's the question we've all been
it's the question everybody... It's the question the universe has been wanting to know for years.
I think, if there's anything to take away just from this segment, yes, he's spent a lot of money. Yes, he's been successful. Has he been as successful?
I think if he wins the Champions League, doesn't matter how much
if he wins the Champions League, all this speculation of him not being a good manager or being a fraud is completely gone.
Yeah. I don't think there's any really...
So that means he's won every competition.
I don't think anyone really had any reasonable arguments to call him a fraud anyway. He's a bloody genius. No, he's not. Yeah. He would be a lot better if Messi was on his team. Yeah.
He had the best team in the world in the mid-2010s. So.
Yeah, but the thing is, that took everyone by surprise. It took a while for people to figure out how to play against him.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why he was so successful then. But now people are using his tactics and can defeat them. So, that's also a factor. But no, he's no fraud. He is a freak.
Yeah, absolute freak of nature. But with that being said...
Also, he was a very good player, but,
Yeah. And yeah, as I said before, like he's using some of the strategies he was being taught as a player in his own philosophy.
I mean, Cruyff, he managed Guardiola for a bit.
Yeah. I said, what's his name? Frank Rijkaard.
Yeah.
As well.
Also, great manager.
Insane. Both player and manager. So, yeah. With that being said, I think that's all we have for Pep this episode. There's no tipping or games, so we're going to go straight on to...
Yes or no?
Yes or no.
So if you're new to the podcast, the next segment is called Yes or No. And the way Yes or No works is Tom and I each ask each other 3 questions, one at a time. I'll go first or Tom will go first. And we can either answer with yes or no. We can't explain our answer. We just say yes or no. So, Tom, would you like to go first?
No.
All right. My first question to you, Tom, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer only one loss away from getting the sack?
No.
Your turn.
For those who don't know, he throws in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer yes or no questions every week. That took me a second. My first question to you. Will Aston Villa be able to continue their form throughout the rest of the season?
Yes.
Go on.
My second question to you, Tom, is Carlo Ancelotti, as Everton manager, has he been hyped up more than he should have been?
No.
Okay.
Almost explained myself then. Question number 2 for you. Should Pep Guardiola reassess his options at the season's end?
Yes.
All right.
That doesn't mean he's going to leave. I'm just saying.
What are you doing? I think you're explaining that. I think you're explaining the question there.
Sorry, Tom.
The answer. Bloody hell. Caught me by surprise for a second.
My last question to you, Tom, is... Will Dominic Calvert-Lewin be in the running, so in the shortlist, for the Ballon d'Or this year?
No.
All right, very well. Your last question?
My final question for you is, will Erling Haaland leave Dortmund for Real Madrid next season?
No, because he's going to go to Chelsea, but no.
He's not going to Chelsea.
He's going to Chelsea.
And that is yes or no.
Thanks for listening to the podcast, or indeed watching it for our first on YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel and share it to as many people as you'd care to. You can follow us on Twitter you can follow Tom on Twitter.
Thomas Hayes _.
And you can follow myself at Twitter at RP_shop. Our links will be in the description below.
Yep.
And follow the GZ_football page for updates about us and the world of football. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video.
Yep. Also, last thing to mention, Wings of Change by our good friend Karan Tejwani is now out. You can find all the links to the book in the description of this podcast and the video, I suppose. So yeah, that one is now available to everyone. And yeah, thanks for watching and listening.
Bye.